Everyone, all the props that we use can be either yoga props or things you have around the house. So I suggest you definitely have either 2 yoga blankets or 2 plain old ordinary towels. These are beach towels, because as I was saying earlier, you might have heard this, my bath towels are so thin and skimpy that you pile 3 on top of them underneath your head, 3 of them, and they wouldn't be comfortable. But just some soft blankets that you can use, and that includes just for sitting. If you're sitting on something and you want something soft, if you have a strap, we might do some stretches today. So you could grab your yoga strap, or you could use a man's tie. That's a yoga bolster. It just happened to be there, and I forgot to take it out of the picture. But at the end of class, when you're doing Shavasana, you might want to have something that you loop your legs over. So if you have a bolster or a big cushion, you can also grab a few of your bed pillows. And remember that you might want to have some water handy. I don't know about you, but my throat's been very dry. So if you want to have some water to sip, and at the end of class, we're going to have a lovely Shavasana. So you want to be warm. So think about what you might want to have to cover you. Think about what you might want to have under your head. If you happen to have an eye pillow, you may want to have that too. So it's really just for your comfort. There's, if we're doing a restorative pose with props, you could also just come to lying on your back comfortably. You don't have to do exactly what we're all doing. So it should be customizable no matter what stuff you have on hand. So with all of that in mind, when you're ready, just come to lying on your mat. And the only thing you need is if you want to have something under your head. Not everyone feels they need to have something when they're lying down under their head. But if you lie down and if your chin is jutting up to the sky, you want to have some height under the back of your skull so the back of your neck feels nice and long. So come to lying on your mat. I'm not going to do things like that with you. So, but you could figure out lying on the mat, I think. Hopefully I've explained it well. So when you come to lying on your mat, take any support you would like under your head. And you could have your legs out straight or your knees bent and your feet on the mat. Some of us are not me, but some folks are very comfortable lying with their legs straight. For me, it's only comfortable to do that maybe at the end of the class, because otherwise my low back curve is too arched. So while you're lying here on the mat, first we're just going to dive into some quiet time. I'm going to chill a little bit, not be chilly, hopefully. Close your eyes. Just take a quick scan of your body, and I'll give you a few things you can observe. As I mentioned before, make sure your head is comfortable, supported on a prop. If you feel you need that to have your neck in a comfortable place. We don't want our chin looking up toward the sky. We want to have a nice, long neck. If you're cold, feel free to cover yourself. And then choose if you want to have straight legs or bent knees, feet on the mat. And of course, you could always change that at any time. So notice your head and if it's comfortable and what you could do to make it comfortable. Notice your arms. Are you able to place them by your side, or do you find that your arms always want to be moving or want to be touching each other, hands holding? See if you can separate your arms by your side. Take the palms up if you like. Bring your awareness to your back and notice where your back meets the surface of the mat, or if you're on a rug, that's okay too. But notice where your back touches. Do you feel your shoulder blades down on the mat? And if you do, are they kind of digging in? Or do you feel one shoulder blade more pronounced on your mat than the other? What about the rib cage? Can you feel some of your rib cage, particularly the ribs that are in between the shoulder blades, like a basket of ribs? Can you feel that rib basket making contact with the mat? Check in with your low back curve. Ideally, and you could put that in air quotes because we all don't have the same anatomy, but ideally our low back curve is fairly small and discrete, and it sits in the lowest part of the back just above the hips. So if your low back, what typically though, our low back curve, because of a number of things, including tension or muscle tightness and other restrictions in the hips and the belly, sometimes our low back curve goes up to the top of the belly button and even beyond taking a lot of your back into this curve, taking a lot of the back that should be kind of neutral into the low back curve. So just notice that. If you do notice that your low back curve feels pretty big and a lot of your back, your mid back is off the floor, then bend your knees and place your feet on the mat or the floor and notice if that made any difference. That might have softened a little more of you down. Make sure that you're comfortable and then dive your awareness into your breath. The breath is going to roll in and roll out. And maybe you can bring a little of your awareness to that breath, like a leaf floating along the breeze, and notice what you notice as you inhale and as you exhale. Can you inhale and exhale using just the nose? Or are you stuffy? Do you need to use your mouth? What sensations do you notice as you inhale and exhale? Maybe on inhale, you feel your belly rise up, your chest rise up. Maybe one is more obvious. Maybe you feel both of them rise with you, the breath that you take. Maybe you feel some lift and expansion somewhere. Notice whatever you notice. Close your eyes like soft curtains. And just give yourself another few breaths here in stillness. And then before we change orientation and come up to sitting, let's just do a few simple stretches here. So still on your mat, if you haven't bent your knees, do bend your knees and place your feet lightly side by side, close but not touching, like railroad tracks, and take your arms by your side, palms up or palms down. Good. Now, keeping your left leg bent, extend your right leg out on the mat and have the leg alert enough so that it's not rolling over to the side, so that the ankle is flexed, the knee is looking up to the ceiling. The knee does not have to be straight. Never force the knee to be straight, but it's a pretty active leg, as if you kind of, instead of lying on the floor, if you were standing up, you'd be able to stand on that leg. Bend the right knee, place the foot down. Do the same action with your left leg. Stretch it out long. Notice whatever you notice, any sensations that arise, any difference between the two legs. Have your leg alert, knee pointing up, ankle gently flexed, and then bring that leg in. Now take your arms, take your arms palms down and raise both of your arms to the height of your shoulders. If you have shoulder injury and one arm doesn't go up that high, that's fine. They could be a little uneven, but have them approximately reaching up to the ceilings, but sink your shoulder blades down and sink your upper arm bones into your shoulder sockets. And then take your right arm back a few more inches. I think I did a lot of inches, but bring it back a little bit. So more behind you. And then let the left arm catch up. And anytime one arm feels I can't go anymore, that's where you're going to stop. Take the right arm back a little bit. Try and keep the arms straight. And we want absolutely no pain. And then take the left to join it. Maybe this is starting to feel really uncomfortable, so you can bring your arms straight up again, like a Halloween zombie, or you could take the arms down by your side. Turn the palms to face your ears. And if your arms came back down toward the floor behind you with palms facing your ears, you might find that your thumb tips come down, but that's only if you have super flexible shoulders. So don't be concerned if they don't do that. Now bring your arms back down toward your side, turn your palms down again. We're going to do those little stretches, a few more stretches with the arms and the legs. So come back to your right leg, stretch the right leg out long, keep the left foot down, let your right thigh be heavy, keep your right arm down, take your left arm up, turn the palm to face your camera. So the fingers are up and the thumb is pointing behind you like you're going to hitchhike. And then if you can, just draw your left arm back and down. No strain, no force. Inhale a breath here. And as you exhale, bring your left arm back down, bend your right knee, foot down. Extend your left leg. Get that set up nice and long and comfortable. No force. If you feel that you're gripping in your jaw, you're definitely forcing. Turn your right palm to face your hip and take the arm as high or as far back behind you as it goes with ease. As you inhale, imagine you're breathing diagonally from your right shoulder to your left hip. And as you exhale, bring in that left leg, bring in that right arm. We'll do one more set like that. Right leg, left arm. You might notice as you do a few, the body opens up a little bit and it feels more comfortable. Alternatively, it might feel more annoying. So just keep that in mind. Exhale, bring those limbs back. And one more time, left leg, right arm, palm facing your hip when you start. And take a breath there. Inhale into your diagonal length. And as you exhale, come back down. Now pick up your right foot and draw your right thigh in toward your belly. You can interlace your hands over your shin, but just ensure that you're not really pulling down strongly on the leg, trying to get it closer down. Only thing we're trying to do, is my earpiece is escaping, is to surrender the leg to gravity and maybe give it a little help with the hands. Okie doke. Take a breath here. And when you're ready, stretch the left leg out. So now you have one leg straight, one bent, but notice the difference in the hips. Your right hip is hinged, so you're closing that hip in a sense, and we're stretching and opening the front of the left hip. Notice the difference there. Notice it, make sure your low back feels okay. If it doesn't, bend the left knee right away and put the foot down. And then switch, left foot down, right foot down, left thigh to your chest. You can hold it there with one or both hands, or maybe it'll just stay there like magic. And then slowly extend the right leg away from you. If the body says no, 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 keep the right leg bent the whole time and the foot on the mat. And try and get a sense that your hips are pretty even. You might feel that your bent leg hip, which at the moment is your left hip, it's maybe hiked up a little bit toward your armpit. So if you feel that, grasp your outer left hip and roll the flesh of the outer left hip away from your armpit so you feel nice and long. Keep the left leg in, bend the right knee, bring the right knee in again, and just make believe your knees are looking at a clock, wherever your knees are. If they're looking to the ceiling or looking behind you, they're looking at a clock. And just let your knees very slowly in unison travel around the dial of that clock in a clockwise direction. So this should be a really small movement on your, it's really the back of your hips. We're really on the back of our pelvis here and the sacrum, which is part of the spine. Make sure this feels okay. If you have a lot of sensitivity back there, you might just need to take a towel under you, or if you have a lot of sensitivity, it might not be worth it. You might not want to do this movement. And now take those circles counterclockwise, really small circles. So no flinging your legs every which way. Try and relax your feet and let your ankles just kind of drip down toward the earth. And then when you're ready, bring your legs back into center and pause there. Release your feet down one at a time. Ease your way over to either side. Rest on your side. Take your top hand, push that hand into the floor, and then add the other hand and make your way up to a comfortable seated position. I'll be sitting cross-legged, but remember, you don't have to. And this could be a moment where a blanket or a towel under your bum might feel nice and comfortable. It's not just to give us more padding back there. A lot of times people think that. It's really more to have us sitting tall. Depending on the curves of your body and your anatomy, if you can't sit tall, if you're slouched when you're sitting, a few blankets underneath your bum can make all the difference. So see if you can set your shoulders roughly in line with your hips, so you have kind of a rectangle shape, and get a sense that your head is in line, so your earlobes are in line with the tops of your shoulders. Typically, especially when we're talking, I'm like leaning forward. So you don't want to be like me. You don't want to be leaning forward. Rest your hands on your thighs. Good. Notice how you feel. Let's start with our sitting movements here with a small seated twist. So first, extend your arms out to the side, kind of like a letter A frame. Reach your arms long. Elbows don't have to be perfectly straight. Good. And now we're going to be twisting to your right. So pick up your left hand and just bring it over toward your right leg. If you have short arms, you might not even reach your right leg, so you can have it on your left leg. Take your left arm and either place it behind you so it's already there to support you, or you can come into the twist with, I'm sorry, your right arm up. So your left arm is crossing to your right leg, and your right arm is either behind you or up in the air. Good. I see some up in the air and I see one down. Inhale, lift and lengthen. As you exhale, take a small twist to your right. And then once you've taken that twist, if the arm was up, just plant it right down and don't force it back behind you. Just let it unfold from the shoulder and land. Check in with your sitting bones. In our twist, we want to be pretty even as we can, between the right sitting bone and the left. So we don't want to be airborne on the side we're twisting away from. Bring your awareness here to the upper part of your chest, the top part of your chest, your upper chest. You could even pick up your left hand and place your hand there. Inhale, a breath here, nice inhale. And notice if you could feel the expansion that the inhale creates in your upper chest. And as you exhale, rather than the chest collapsing, it just kind of recedes a little bit. It kind of softens unto itself. Take one more breath here and the twist to your right. And then when you're ready, unwind your spine. Inhale, and you can keep your arms down as you come out, or you could take them up. Before we do the second side, if you are sitting cross-legged, you may want to change the direction of your cross to help eliminate a lot of the habits that we tend to have even in yoga, or you could change your seat altogether. So we're going to be twisting to your left. So again, now your left hand can either come behind you, or we could keep it waiting on the side and lift it up in a moment. Take your right hand and bring it over to your left leg. So I'm going to take my left arm up, inhale a breath here. And as you exhale, twisting to your left. And then once you've created that twist, drop that arm down behind you and just let your arms follow your shoulders. So we don't want our arms to be pulling us into the pose. Take a few breaths here. You might find that that first revolution that you did in the twist was so yummy, you just want to stay right there. You might find, especially if you were pretty active today, that maybe you have a little more room to twist a little more, but make sure you don't force it. Bring your awareness now to your back. Before we were aware of our upper chest, bring your awareness to your upper back. Twists tend to be big back openers. Dive your awareness in there, and without force, just take a little extra sip of air on that next inhale and breathe into your back. Imagine that you're breathing right into your back lungs, into maybe the tight muscles and tissues in the upper back. It works very hard for us. Take one more breath here. And as you inhale, slowly unwind. You could keep the arms low and just unwind, or you could take the arms up, get a little more arm movements, and bring your arms down. And if you were sitting cross-legged all this time, take your legs out in front of you and paddle your thighs a little bit. And you can do that no matter how you were sitting. Point and flex your toes a few times, like flipper your feet. And then circle your ankles. So you could just do one at a time or both together. Get some movement into those joints. And then when you're ready, we're going to come to all fours on hands and knees. So here's another place where you could use a blanket or towel. If your knees are sensitive, you might want to take a blanket underneath your hands. If you have, we're going to do some cat-cow variations. And if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia and therefore don't want to do a lot of rounding in your upper back, you could add the blocks as tools, but it is not necessary. I'm just going to show you quickly, and then you're just going to start the movement whenever you're ready. If you want to do your traditional cat-cow, that is fine. So if your hands are elevated, as you inhale, you take your back bend, that's the same. And as you exhale, shift your hips back toward your heels without pushing the upper spine up, without doing that rounded back. And having your hands elevated helps to decrease the likelihood that you're going to take a big rounding of the upper back. That's the only reason they're there. So I'll show you that variation again without the blocks. Inhaling forward at small back bend from crown to tail. Exhaling neutral spine, dipping the hips back to the heels. And rather than rounding the spine, lengthening the spine through stretching through armpits to hips. Your regular familiar cat-cow, the inhale is the same. The inhale is the back bend. And in the regular cat-cow, the cat, oh my goodness, I have Halloween leggings and I don't even know the cat. With the cat variation, what we're usually familiar with, we really round that back. We draw the forehead to the toward the pubic bone, and it can feel great, but just know that it is not great if you have that osteopenia, osteoporosis situation. So choose the variation of cat-cow that suits you best. And if either one is fine for you, you could alternate. You could do some that's the traditional cat and the cow, or you could do the version where you take the back bend on the inhale, and then rather than being a kitty cat, you just extend your hips back to your heels. So just make sure your arms are comfortable, your wrists aren't bothering you. And let's see. The next time you come back from whatever your variation is of the forward bend, consider taking a down dog here. If down dog isn't in your practice and you don't like inverting in the evening, that's fine. Bring your hands a little further forward. Don't do the down dog if you don't want to. Tuck your toes under. I like to walk my feet a little bit, so I get a really, really good tuck. Push through the heels. Inhale, come into that small but yummy back bend. Exhale, lift up and back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Sometimes when I do down dog, my earpiece falls out. So just know that that could happen. Take a few breaths in your downward facing dog. Notice how your down dog feels. I'm just going to take a little peek here. Good. You can bend your knees as much as you need to. Excellent. For those of you who I could see, I didn't see any issues. So when you're ready, gently place your knees down. And now let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum, to child's pose. Take your knees wide, bring your big toes to touch, slide your hips back to your heels. Here too, a prop could be handy. A block, a folded towel or is nicer, you could take it right under your head. Take a few breaths here in forward bend of child's pose. Bring your awareness to your upper back again. And on your next inhale, focus your awareness on the expansion that your breath creates in your upper back. When you're ready, bring yourself back up to table one more time. We're going to make our way to standing. It's a short class. I want to get us up to standing for just a couple of things. So if you have one knee that is more sensitive to be on the mat, take that foot forward first and then tuck the toes under, lift the hips and step forward. Sorry, I'm fussing with my top here. And I want to adjust the camera a little bit so my head isn't chopped off, which would be kind of good actually since I'm not seeing you next week. This is the Halloween class. So if I were headless, it would actually be like the headless horse yoga lady Halloween special. Bring your feet roughly parallel, let your arms just straight by your side. And stand tall, but with as little effort as you can. Not little effort meaning like you're like, hey, slouching. But notice when you're standing, if you're gripping your tushy. Notice if your legs are like really tight, your jaw is like really tight, and just see if you could get a little mushy. So we have these sturdy bones and we have these strong muscles, but let's create like some softness throughout the body. And if you like, close your eyes. With the eyes closed, notice how the nervous system registers where you are in space. You might feel when you close your eyes that, hey, one foot feels in front of the other, or maybe I'm moving a little bit. You might actually be moving a little bit. When you're ready, open your eyes, bend your elbows, join the hands together at your heart center. Inhale a breath here, and as you exhale, surrender your arms down. As you inhale, scoop your arms forward, bring them all the way up. Join the hands together overhead. I know it's not in the picture, but hands together in prayer. Slide that prayer pose down to your heart. Let the thumb tips just touch your breastbone. And without force, just notice on your next inhale that you might feel a tiny little lift from the chest into those thumb tips. Inhale and exhale, release the arms. We're going to do a forward bend next, standing forward bend. And this too, I tend to have my students be long rather than rounded. So I'll just come to the side so you can see that. Inhale a breath here. Exhale, release your arms. Now you can start livening up your body a little bit. Maybe making your thighs a little taut, maybe a little energy in the tushy, especially the low parts of the tushy. Inhale the arms up. This time as you exhale, either take your arms wide or place your hands on your hips. Come to a forward bend, either a half forward bend, which would be like an upside down letter L for love, with your legs straight and your spine and vertical and your torso horizontal. Or you can also be up a little higher. Do what feels right for you. Keep the spine long in the front and in the back. As you inhale, take your arms out and up, or simply slide your hands up the body. Join the hands together overhead. Slide the hands to the heart center. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Step toward the front of your mat. We're going to do a warrior one. So you need a little space behind you. And if you have any balance or stability issues, by all means, you could have a piece of furniture. You could do this class with a piece of furniture in front of you or a chair. Hands to your heart center. Inhale, exhale, release your arms, and take a generous step back with your right leg. Take your hands to your hips and steer your hips so they're looking straight forward like the headlights on a car. And you choose how far you want your legs apart, and you might have a preference from your yoga practice. Keep your left hand either on your hip or on your leg. As we bend the left knee, we're going to lift the right arm to enhance the stretch in the front of the right side. Inhale into warrior one, taking the right arm up, bending the front knee. Exhale and releasing. And do a few more at your own pace. Inhaling into warrior one, reach that back leg long. Exhaling back to the straight leg, relax the arm. Feel free to take a breath in between doing these. I'm going to do maybe two more, but it doesn't matter if you do one more or one less. Inhale into Virabhadrasana 1 and exhale out. And last one, inhale into the pose. Now keep the front knee bent if that feels okay, the back leg reaching long. See if you can get a sense that your hips are square. You may want to take your hands to your hips. You may need to draw your forward leg hip back, and then take both arms up a little wider than your shoulder. In addition to being a strengthening pose for the legs and hips, warrior one is also a small back bend. You just want to make sure you're not like really crazy pushing your ribs forward. Oh, look at that. And that would hurt your low back. You just want to have a nice gentle curve of your spine. Energize your fingers to the sky. And as you inhale, slowly lift your back heel, straighten the front leg. Pause here if it feels okay. Firm both legs. Join the hands together, hands to the heart, and as many steps as you need, take your right foot up. And then when you get there, you might want to shake it out a little bit. I'm going to do the same routine on the second side. Hands together at the heart center. Inhale. Exhale, release your arms. Take a generous step back with your left leg. One side can be completely different from the other. Your balance may be completely different on one side. Even though it's not a balance pose like tree, warrior one does have a balance challenge. Steer those hips forward like headlights. So the right hand is going to just be hanging out on your hip. I like mine on my thigh, so my arm is very relaxed and lazy. Inhale, bend the right knee, lift the left arm up. Exhale, straight leg, arm comes down by your side. And you can adjust as you go. You might find that, well, if I bend my knee is like way forward of my toes, then you need a longer stride. Inhale, nice and easy. So our yoga warriors are strong but calm. We're just dialing into our body's alertness and its awareness and its strength, but not doing anything extreme. The next time you come into position with the front knee bent, check in with your hips. And if you feel you need the hands on the hips to orient them square, feel free to do that. And then you could take both arms up again. If you're tired, you can have both arms down. You might want to adjust the distance between your feet. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here, maybe 3. And then when you're ready, slowly pick the back heel up, hands together at the heart, slide the hands down and gently propel yourself forward back to Tadasana, back to mountain pose. I don't know if I mentioned that was mountain pose that we were in. And just pause here with both legs doing the same thing and both feet on the ground, and just pause and just notice the simple, like deconstructed strength of this official yoga pose. Standing in style. It reminds me of Toy Story, when the one that tries to fly, Buzz, thinks he can fly, but he can't, and he falls. And he said, I was falling with style. I think that's how he refers to it. So we're not just standing, we're standing in style. So here you could add a little firmness of the legs if you like, not as mellow as the one we first did. Spread your fingers wide, reach your fingertips down. Relax your shoulders away from your earlobes. And if you like, close your eyes and just think for a moment what your ideal mountain would be for the end of this long day in the middle of the week. Would you like to be in a sunny mountain with lots of flowers? We're kind of back in summer weather, so maybe that's good. Maybe you'd rather be on a snow-capped mountain. If you like, take your arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. If you take your arms up, notice that your hips might come forward or your ribs might come forward, so adjust for that. Join your hands together overhead in a prayer position. And as you drag your hands down to your heart, also step your feet wide. Step your feet wide with your feet parallel, and spin your right leg out and your left leg in for warrior 2. Inhale the arms up, exhale. Take a small, gentle warrior 2. A little bit of work in a lot of places. So we don't want all the weight, all the work, and all the weight on the bent leg. So reach your straight leg long. Imagine your bent leg knee nice and soft. Reach energetically to the fingertips of both arms. Lengthen your spine. Crown of the head reaching toward the sky. Now drop your left hand to the outside of your left thigh. Turn your right palm up. We're just going to do the tiniest reverse warrior, or sometimes called peaceful warrior. So you can shift your hips toward your right as you take your arm overhead or just kind of around you in a gentle arch. Inhale back to warrior 2. And as you inhale, push into the front foot, straighten the legs, bring the hands up, parallel the feet, and at the same time, drag your hands back down to your heart center. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Spin your left leg out, not as much as you can, just spin it out comfortably. Turn your right leg in. Keep your hands at your heart center this time. If you like, you could take them out right away, your choice. Inhale, and as you exhale, settle your lower half into warrior 2. And then point your fingers toward each other. And one arm at a time, you get to pick the arm. Just unfold your arms and notice as you open the arms up. I felt like I created a nice little breeze with my arms. Maybe you did too. Good. Take a few breaths here. Make sure there's a little activity going on in your butt cheeks, especially the lowest part. If you're not sure, reach back there and give them a little tap. If your arms are tired, take them lower. You can take them in any position you like. Sometimes I like to do little movements like stop sign hands. So you can point your fingertips up to the ceiling. This is a nice stretch for the underside of your forearm. And then when you're ready, as you inhale, if your wrists were flexed, straighten out your wrists, turn the palms up. Oh, I forgot to do the reverse warrior. Sorry, stay where you are, stay where you are. Turn your left arm up, Bring your right hand to your outer right thigh. Caught myself and take that very, very small arching side bend, very tiny, even if you could go bigger. And then come back to standing, warrior two, and then turn your palms up, push into your bent leg foot, hands together overhead, hands to the heart. Stroll or mosey your feet back to standing. Notice how you feel. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. We did a few forward bends already when we were in the different orientation. Now we're going to do a wide-legged forward bend. If you know you're very flexible and you easily can fold a lot, you could take some books or blocks in front of you, but you don't need to have props because you know what? You have legs. Or if you're by a piece of furniture, if you're practicing in the bedroom, you could go fold with your hands on the bed. So start with wide feet and the feet roughly parallel. And take your hands to your side hips and just take your elbows out, relax your shoulders. So just taking a moment here to be New York tough and find just a little firmness in the body here. Inhale a breath as you exhale from those hip creases that we were playing around with in the beginning of class and throughout the practice. Fold forward just a little bit in time. So go in increments so you can find that you don't go too far and then like, oh no, this doesn't feel good. Now, if you need to bend your knees, bend your knees. You can keep your hands on your legs the whole time. If you're working with a spine that has osteoporosis, you want to resist rounding, so you want to keep it nice and long. Again, your choice where your hands are going to be, but where your shoulders are, let your head kind of go along. So if you're in this kind of flat back position with your spine horizontal, your head and neck is going to be long and looking toward the ceiling. But if your shoulders come lower than your hips naturally, take your head with you. Don't keep your head folded back toward your back. Take a few breaths here. As long as you are comfortable. If forward bends are not a happy place for you, come back sooner rather than later. Feel free to soften your knees a little bit. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, if your hands are on a prop, eventually get your hands back onto your legs and start coming up in increments, a little bit at a time. Come back to standing. Keep your legs wide, but turn your feet out a little bit. It's going to be like a big starfish. Take your arms up at an angle. Lengthen your tail down. Tip your chest. Tip your chest, your breastbone slightly up for a small standing back bend. And then come to vertical, hands together, hands to your heart. Step your feet together. We're going to come back down to the mat. On the way, yogi's choice. You could just come plopping to the mat. That's good. Or you could take a down dog on the way. So you could take detours. We're all going to end up on the mat in child's pose, or if child's pose is uncomfortable, a comfortable seated position. Sorry, my mat's driving me crazy today. There we go. Okay. Hands to your heart center. Inhale. Exhale, release your arms. Inhale, take the arms up. Exhale, fold again. Now, if you want to come to down dog, you're going to keep on bending the knees, reaching the hands forward and stepping back to downward facing dog, if that's a happy place for you. If it's not a happy place for you, you could keep on lowering down and gently place your knees down and come to child's pose. So yogi's choice. And if you do come to downward facing dog, you can play around a little there. If you do like to do down dog splits, it's an evening quiet class, so I wouldn't get too crazy with the planks and stuff, but I can't see most of you anyway, so you kind of can do whatever your body is calling for you. And then down doggers also meet in child's pose. Find a quiet place. After you've had the opportunity to rest in child's pose, so you don't have to come out of it yet, Just come to sitting. When you're ready, you're going to sit so you can extend the length of your legs on your mat. And in doing a twist, you might find that sitting up on a towel or a blanket to keep you tall is really, really helpful in a twisted position. I'll give you a moment to get settled. Good. And then from here, bend your right knee and bring it comfortably close toward you. Remember, in the beginning of class, we want an active left leg. So we don't want a floppy leg rolling out to the side. Keep your left leg alert with the knee looking up, the ankle slightly flexed. Try to relax the toes. It's hard sometimes not to tense up the toes with the ankle flex, but see what you can do and sit nice and tall. Keep your left hand on your right shin. And just like we did in the beginning of class, you could take your right arm behind you right from the start. Otherwise, you could inhale and reach that arm to the sky to help the idea that you are lengthening your spine, and you exhale, unfold the twist as you wrap toward the right and place your arm comfortably down. And keep your spine upright. What I don't see here, because most of you don't have your cameras on, a lot of times people twist like this, very languid, with the shoulders way back from the hips. So we want to be pretty vertical in the spine here. Try to keep a little action going in the body, but not so much that your hand is gripping your leg, or you want your left leg straight so much it's like really, really tense. See if you can take the beautiful shape of this posture, nurturing the spine with your twist, but yet finding a little softness in it as well. Take 2 more breaths here. And 1 more breath here. And then when you're ready, unwind with your arms up or down. Straighten out your right leg. You may want to flop your legs around a little bit. Second side, bend your left knee. You might notice on the second side, the knee doesn't bend as much. You could have your bent leg foot down by your ankle if you need to. Take your hands on the shin to help you sit tall with the hips even. And then keep your right hand on your left leg. Take your left arm behind you or keep it up. Inhale, find the length, crown to tailbone, tailbone to crown. As you exhale, spiral that beautiful spine over to your left. If the bent leg wants to flop out to the side, you could toe heel your foot a little further to the side of the mat. So try and keep the knee upright if you can, but bring the foot out a little wide if it makes it easier to do so. Bring your awareness to your upper back and maybe sip in a little bit more breath on your next inhale. Feels so good, and invite that breath to massage your back, massage the muscles of your back with your breath. And then on your next breath, bring your awareness to the front of your chest, particularly right in the center, in the heart center, below the breast, below the collarbones, on the breastbone. And as you inhale, breathe into that upper chest with just maybe a little extra sip of air. Invite that breath to come right through the front door of your heart to nourish you. One more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly unwind, release your arms down, shake the legs out. So I'm gonna suggest you set up for one little supported back bend. So here you'll need either a couple of blankets. I'm gonna do it with beach towels so you don't feel bad if you don't have those fancy yoga blankets. So take one large towel and fold it. So if you're starting out, let's say with a rectangle like this, now another magic trick for Halloween, I made the yoga teacher disappear, and fold it lengthwise. I'm gonna come a little closer so you can see what this looks like. It doesn't have to be perfectly even, although when you're lying on it, you wanna make sure there's no seam on you. But I have found that my bath towels and my beach towels, I must shop in the wrong spot. They're very uneven. Okay, I folded it a little better here. So you're gonna have this long blanket and you're gonna place that down the length of your mat. What's gonna go here? Your spine. Depending on your height, your head might come too. Leave a little space at the top of your mat, the head end. Take another blanket, and I'm starting with this shape here. Rather than making that a long, narrow rectangle, make it more of a regular rectangle. I don't know if there's a such thing as a regular rectangle, but that's going to look like this. Small square rectangle. And you're going to take that at the top. So it looks like a letter T, a capital letter T. Now, everyone's body is different, and we're not using a lot of props here. If you have, when you come into the pose, you're going to have your bum here on your mat, and then you're going to lengthen the rest of you down. I'm about 5'2", so my head ends up here, so I don't have to add any height if I don't want to. If you're taller, your head's going to end up there. So just know you want your head to be comfortable. So if you have a little extra pillow, something soft, you could grab that so you make sure you have enough padding under your head. You're using a towel. The good thing about using towels is that there's not a lot of thickness here, and chances are your bum will be comfortable here. But if you feel when you're in the pose that your low back is arched too much, grab another blanket or towel and sit on that instead of the mat. If you have yoga blocks or small pets, you can place one on either side. I'll take it out of the way, but I'll show you what you could do with it. If you have a bolster, you could tuck it under your legs, but you don't need that. So you're sitting with your bottom in front of the narrow blanket, either on the mat, or if your low back is sensitive, maybe on another little bit of fabric to give you a little more height. And then you ease your spine down, and then you may need to adjust. I'm wearing a top that I haven't worn before, and I realize it's way too long for yoga. So make sure that your folded clothes are not bunched up underneath you, and make sure your low back curve feels neutral. So I know I said it a lot, but it's really important. If you feel that laying in this position with your butt a little lower than your torso makes the low back curve bigger, place just a little towel or some other thing to elevate your hips up a little bit. Now, if you have the props, you could take them on either side. I like to rest my wrist and hands on those. And again, you can see, if you don't need to see, but my head is on the long prop. But if I wanted, let's say I had a little higher, I would pull that up in there. So what we're doing with this vertical blanket, we're creating a type of back bend. That's a restorative back bend, in that, unlike in Cobra, we didn't do a Cobra today. We didn't do back bends on the mat, but we did Warrior One. We did a standing back bend. So rather than using our muscles to create the back bend, the props are doing the work for us, because we're like the Queen of England. And if you're as old as me and you remember that Monty Python sketch, the Queen has it all done for her. So you are the Queen, and these props are giving you a back bend without any effort from you. You should feel a little buoyancy in the upper part of the chest, calmness in the hips, calmness in the low back, calmness in the belly, calmness in the head, but a little lift. Almost that you're presenting your heart toward the sky. And from that little lift, that the narrow blanket, the blanket is narrower, or the towel is narrower than your body. So it's scooping up your inner shoulder blades, probably the inner edges of your shoulder blades. And that's what's creating that buoyancy. Let your body be still and soft. Close your eyes and take a few breaths here. If you like, bring your awareness to your breath. Feel free to just let your awareness slide away and take a few minutes of quiet here before we come soon into Shavasana. But if you like, without force, take a slightly bigger inhale. And as you breathe, notice if you feel the rising and expanding of the chest and or the belly. And maybe you feel your upper back pressing down a little bit. And as you exhale, notice the gentle gathering in as your body surrenders as the breath leaves you. Bring your awareness, if you like, to the sides of you, the side ribs. And as you inhale, breathe and notice if you feel that you're expanding into your sides. Breathing into the sides of your rib cage and into the sides of your lungs. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here. When you're ready to release, make sure that your knees are bent. So if you loop them over a bolster, bend your knees so that you have your ankles and your knees roughly in line. Press into your feet, ease your hips over to one side, roll over to the other, and you can roll clean off that blanket, but just make sure you have support under your head because we're on our side. Our big brawny shoulders get all bunched up underneath us, and just rest on your side for a moment. You could draw your thighs to your chest if your low back's feeling a little like, hey, what was that all about? From here, we're going to come to lying on our back. We're going to do just a smidgen of a twist and then Shavasana. So you could stay in the same orientation with your head in the same orientation you were. Gather together any props you want to have for Shavasana. Blanket under your head if you like, pillows nearby. And just so you know, you can come straight into Shavasana here. Make sure you have anything you need under your head and anything you want to have to cover you. If you want to do what I say, a suggestion of a twist, take your knees wide and just sway your knees gently from side to side a few times, not even taking them all the way. And then let your knees come completely over meaning as much as your knees go to the right. And take a few breaths here in the twist. It's nice to do a twist after a back bend. So we're getting a lot of twisting in today. With the knees to the right, you can turn your head to the left and just take 2 breaths here. Easily roll your knees back to center until your feet are fully down on the mat. Bring your head back to center. Inhale in place, and as you exhale, take your knees over to the left, or if you did the left first, over to the right. Turn your head away from your bent knees. And take 2 breaths here. Breathe your knees back to center. If you wish to draw your legs into your chest one more time, if your body is calling for that, by all means do that. And then prepare for Shavasana. Anything under your head, cover yourself so you're nice and warm. Use an eye pillow if you need to. Loop your legs over some props. Get your teddy bear, get your cat or dog, and come to delicious stillness. Give your body this gift, the body that works so hard for you all week, every week, the busy hands, the feet that take you so many places. Let them go. Let your hands release. Your feet be spongy soft. Your thighs like melted pats of butter. Your belly soft. Your head heavy. And your eyes gently closed. Surrender to stillness. Invite your breath to be easeful, easeful breath, easeful body, easeful mind. Invite your body to be calm, calm body, calm breath, calm mind. Invite your mind to be quiet, quiet mind, quiet body, quiet breath. Surrender to ease, to calm, to peace, and to softness. Take a few more easeful breaths here. And know that even though we will soon be closing the Shavasana in class, it can be really helpful, especially if you have trouble sleeping, to take a little Shavasana, like this time in the evening. So feel free to keep on Shavasana-ing, not really a word, keep on resting. When you're ready, bring your awareness back to your breath if you're going to wind down as the class draws to a close. You may want to stretch or yawn. Before you roll over to your side, notice if your body meets the mat in a different way than it did in the beginning of class. It might feel more settled, more heavy. If you're coming up from your comfy position, bend your knees, roll over to your side, rest on your side, and only come up to sitting if it suits you. You can again stay curled up on your side like a little ball and then stretch right out again. Otherwise, go up to a seated position. If you like, join your hands together, snuggle your hands to your heart. Thank your body for all it offers you every day, every moment, every week. Honor your heart for its goodness and treasure your spirit for its uniqueness. Namaste.